You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Hey look, we're all still here. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Arya Whitner, and yes, this is your NXT audio update for Wednesday, November 9, 2016. Let's just talk about NXT, shall we? Show started with Charlie Caruso previewing the semifinals of the Dusty Rhodes Classic, both matches being held in Los Angeles and airing tonight. In our first match, the first semifinal of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano versus the Authors of Pain. I still find it funny that while airing these house show matches, they always make sure to put previously recorded up on the screen. As mentioned last week, they previously record every episode of NXT, so why these certain matches are so special, who knows? Authors of Pain did perhaps the most unique move I've seen in quite a while. Gargano went for a suicide dive and got caught, so Ciampa went for one of his own, but the Authors of Pain threw Gargano into a charging Ciampa. Akam and Razor got the heat on Gargano. While this was a fine match, I still think Tucker Knight and Dojovic from a few weeks ago would have made a better team and a better Authors of Pain than these two. Ciampa got the hot tag and ran wild, including giving Razor a German suplex that sent Razor ass over a tea kettle. Razor then managed to catch Ciampa on his shoulders while holding Gargano in his arms. Micah Elgin has done the same thing in New Japan. I've seen at least. He may do the same thing in ROH, but I've at least seen it in New Japan. He dropped Ciampa with a Samoan drop while throwing Gargano overhead with a fall-away slam. Paul Ellering then got up to distract the referee towards the finish, and the Revival appeared from out of nowhere, also known as underneath the ring, and attacked Gargano outside the ring, dropping Gargano with a DDT on the pretty mats outside the ring. Then in a move that I would not have believed was happening if I hadn't accidentally read the results of the Observer last week, the Authors of Pain pinned Ciampa with the last chapter. And the Authors of Pain move on to the finals. The Return is happening next week. I still have no idea who or what the Return is. Hey, I don't intentionally read spoilers. Earlier today, Ty Dillinger cut a promo saying that Bobby Roode has made a career out of, and I quote, backstabbing people in the back. However, at NXT TakeOver Toronto, he will kick Roode's ass, and Toronto will now be known as the Perfect 10 City. Somehow, I doubt that. Time for the other semifinal match in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. TM61 versus Sanity. The newest fourth announcer of the SmackDown Live broadcast team describes Sanity as four individuals bound together with twisted malice and a quartet of crazy. I just wonder who Vince McMahon met one day that actually talked like that, which led to him insisting that his announcers talk like that. Before the bell even rang, we got a 4-on-2 beatdown of TM61. The match eventually began with Shane Thorne basically having to go as a 2-on-1 handicap match since Dick Miller was beaten up too badly to stand in the corner, at least for the start of the bout. Thorne at one point came close to making the hot tag as Miller fought his way all the way back to the apron, but Alexander Wolf knocked him down. Thorne did a very good job of basically working a handicap match here against the two members of Sanity. Miller got the hot tag eventually, and after a few seconds, we got this awkwardly placed crowd shot, and when we came back, Miller was covering one of Sanity, and they were both talking to the referee. Don't know what happened there. The finish saw the heels go for their finish, but Thorne drop-kicked one of them and Miller pinned the other with the jackknife cradle. So in a final match that I'm sure we all saw coming when we saw the brackets a month and a half ago, it will be TM61 versus the Authors of Pain in the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic at NXT TakeOver Toronto. NXT General Manager William Regal then announced that the Revival will defend the NXT Tag Team Championship against DIY in a 2 out of 3 falls match at NXT TakeOver. Bobby Roode said that at TakeOver, Ty Dillinger will prove that he is the perfect loser and the perfect failure, while Roode will make it glorious. Then we got what was technically the main event. Ember Moon versus Rachel Evers. We were magically whisked away from Los Angeles back to Full Sail University for this bout. Rachel, the daughter of Precious Paul Ellering, borrows the last name of her trainer Lance Storm for this match. This is at least the third different name Rachel has used. She's been Rachel Ellering, and I wish I could remember off the top of my head what she also used back in around April or May, but this is name number 3. Rachel looked good here, but no one thought she had much of a chance of winning. Ember made her come back and looked like she was taking Rachel's head clean off. Ember hit her back handspring corner clothesline before hitting her top rope stunner for the pin. Next week, it is already the go-home show to TakeOver, and it will be one-on-one Andrade Cien Almas versus Cedric Alexander. Show ends with the contract signing for the NXT Championship match at TakeOver between Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura. If it feels like NXT does a lot of contract signings, it's because they do a lot of contract signings. They do at least one before every TakeOver. So when you get 4 or 5 TakeOver shows in a year, it seems like they do it all the time. The ring was filled with security people to keep champion and challenger apart, which didn't seem to matter, and we'll tell you in a minute why. But the only thing I could focus on was one of the security guards had his back to the camera, and he had what looked like these giant divots on the top of his head, which definitely stood out. After Nakamura's entrance, Joe came out and then turned around and left, before returning with his own table and chair that he set up on the ramp. Joe said that this was for his own safety, but if Nakamura ran his mouth, he would put down Mr. Regal's rabid animal. Joe bragged about beating down Nakamura and said that he could do it any time, calling himself the benevolent future NXT champion, and will not give Nakamura his opportunity for revenge in front of the mouth breathers in Orlando, but will at TakeOver. Joe then told Mr. Regal to do something useful and bring him the contract. Mr. Regal tried to talk to Joe, but Joe shouted him down and told him to hurry up and bring it to him. Mr. Regal brought it to him, which Joe signed, and then when William reached for the contract, Joe just dropped it right outside of his reach. Mr. Regal, I wish he could still wrestle. And I bet he wishes he could still wrestle. And maybe he still can to a degree. But there have been at least 3 or 4 matches that they seem to have built up over the years for Mr. Regal to have. And he never has any of them. So, makes you realize that he really can't go anymore. But I really want to see him versus Joe, and that's why I brought that up. Anywho, Mr. Regal brought the contract back to Nakamura to sign, but instead Nakamura dropped all 6 security guards and dropped the contract on the mat. He destroyed all 6 men, including putting one through a table, and then Nakamura finally signed the contract. 3 referees all came running out to keep champion and challenger apart, which is hilarious since Nakamura beat up 6 large men by himself, and it took 3 skinny referees to hold them apart from each other. Anyway, next week, it's already the go-home show. We are just 10 days away from TakeOver. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you again in 7 days.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.